So episode 2 ended with us seeing the Devander killing Rosti, which sent Will into a pure state of anger and rage. However, even if he is super mad, he is still falling right towards the ground. Luckily, we see Werkner coming by on his dragon and managing to catch him in his arms. We see Werkner holding onto Will extremely tightly while he screams out for Rosti. Werkner tells him to stop it and that he is gone already, and with that, Werkner speeds away from the Devander. With that, we leave them for a bit as we head to the Magiavander, and we see Zio slamming his hand into the table before getting up and starting to walk away. But just then, Cariot asks him where he thinks he is going. Zio tells him that it's to battle, of course, asking him if he can't hear them wailing. They are getting butchered like pigs down there, calling them all useless. But even then, he tells them to look at them just sitting here pretty watching them die. Asking if they are the Magiavander or not, Cariot tells him that he heard Lord Aaron. If the Magiavander falls, so does the barrier, and if that comes to pass, the celestial host will invade and reduce their world to cinders. As things stand, even they are no match for them. They must wait at least until their magic is replenished. He should know by now what being a Magiavander entails, explaining that he has certainly told him often enough, telling him to kindly return to his seat. Zio, however, stands his ground and tells him that he doesn't want to, asking what good's a fancy title if it means being a coward. Just then, Cariot fires away a lightning strike right at his feet. He has a smile as he tells Zio that he already told him to return to his seat, telling him that if he refuses, then he will have no choice but to keep him here by force. Zio just laughs and tells him to go on and try it. We then see Eleanor's servant asking her what she will do. Eleanor tells her not to be ridiculous, explaining that she will stay here and observe. This is the mage's home, not hers. We then see Sarissa thinking that they're barely holding out as it is, and now the Magiavander are fighting among themselves. However, she is about to be more shocked as Elfaria gets up from her seat and also starts to walk away. She then stands right before them and asks them to rescind their order and that they are wasting time. Aaron looks right at her as he tells her that his mind's made up and tells her to stand down. The two of them just look at each other before Elfaria gets angrier and she starts to use her ice ability around the entire table. She explains that she is going to help the people she cares about. She is going to help, so if they try to stop her, then she will take them down as well. We then see Sarissa on the side being pretty nervous about this, which was so wholesome. Anyway, we then get back to Werkner, who thinks that the Devander decimated their front lines and now the surviving Dinoboros are starting to overwhelm their mage reserves. Not even the dwarves can turn the tide. He looks right at Will and thinks that he is their last hope and that he is all that they have. But suddenly Will starts to speak up. He screams that he can't protect them. He can't save anyone. He can't do anything. He clenches his fist and says that it's just like before and that they even took Elfie away. He asks if it is because he can't use magic, saying that it is and that it's why he couldn't protect Elfie or Rosti or anyone. It's because he is a no-talent flunky, screaming with everything that he has got that it's all his fault. Werkner tries to tell him that it's okay, but Will just asks him why he is the only one who can't use magic, and he has a stream of tears running down his face as he says that, and we can clearly see how much that hit Werkner. But he then tells Will to pull himself together and screams out to him. But while they are going on about that, we can out of nowhere see Mars, who says hello to them. Mars explains that Will, he can tell just from looking at him, that he's going to be a huge pain in the ass, even more than the dwarves. However, he assures them not to worry, as he will kill them all at once. After that, we see him sending away a bunch of lightning right at them. It creates a big explosion in the sky, so Colette looks right at it. Lihanna, however, just asks her what she is going to do. But Colette wonders to herself if it was Will just now. Just then, Kiki comes running. She is super beat up, so Colette runs to her and asks if she is okay. She wonders if she is pouring blood, but notices that it's someone else's blood, but luckily not Will's. But even then, she can't help but wonder how Will is really doing. After that, she grabs Kiki and runs off, telling Kiki to follow Will's scent and to take her to him. We then see Sion right behind her, who follows her. Wignall asks him what he is doing. Sion tells them to take care of things here. Julius is also super caught off guard, but Wignall then tells him to conjure his clones. Julius is hesitant, but Lihanna tells him to hurry. Julius just gets mad as he tells them to stop treating him like their personal handyman. After that, we head to Headless, who thinks that Mars really knows how to party. He then starts to create something and tells it to go and join the fun, telling it to try the main dish. After that, Headless sends that black ball soaring through the sky, and Devander notices it and starts to follow it. Claire, who is also in the sky, sees this. She thinks that it's heading for the city center, or rather, the tower. She then thinks that she can't let it near the central floss, looking right at it and thinking that the monster could kill the Magia Vander. But suddenly, the Devander looks right at her, and the black ball starts to surround her, and she starts to look worried before an explosion goes off right where she is. Edward, who is under, notices it and screams out for her. He then calls out to the dwarves. He tells them that he orders them to launch a suicide attack, telling them to go to the city center and destroy Devander's Mage Slayer, saying that they need to do whatever it takes. We then see Gina, who isn't listening to it, and says that he can't be serious. She explains that they have been shielding their mages this whole time. They are on their last legs here, not to mention that Donan's men got cut to pieces. And then on top of all that, Edward wants to send the rest of them to their death. Edward, with no hesitation, just tells her that she is spot on. Gina looks extremely caught off guard, but Edward explains that the only way to save this city and protect the children is for them all to give their lives. But while that is going on, we see a whole beast coming above Gina. It does look like Julius is the one who screams it out to her, but I'm not sure if that's true. Anyway, it's heading to Gina rapidly, but before it can hit her, Edward comes in its way and drags her away and protects her. Gina can't believe what just happened, but Edward has to act quickly, as he then uses his Saeva Fulminus spell on it and takes it out. We then see Edward breathing heavily as the beast got in a pretty decent blow. Meanwhile, Gina just asks him why. Edward then, in fact, looks super cold as he says that they are fighting against creatures that are impervious to magic. That means that his life isn't worth as much as hers right now. Telling her that it's that simple, Gina just gets more and more shocked. But Edward continues as he tells her that they will pay the blood price if they fall, so please make this sacrifice. Gina is hesitant, but after some thinking, she screams out to everyone and says that to get everyone together and that they are heading downtown. We then move to Sion, who calls out to Colette as he sees something and instructs her to run, which was true as we see the Devander standing right before her. After that, we move to the castle, where the text says that Edward's injured and they have lost contact with Werkner. Their forces in the Western District have collapsed, as has the High Mage Division in the Northeast. We then see Cauldron, who thinks that for herself. She explains that things could hardly get any worse. It's all they can do to protect their citizens. They can't drive back the enemy. After her, we move to Iris, who looks hurt, and she thinks that thanks to the dwarves, they cut down the number of mage slayers, but that Devander is unstoppable. She hears a ton of people calling for reinforcements, and that they need help. As she hears that, she bites her lip, and thinks that they are losing the battle on every front. There are no more people to send. They have a few dwarves left, but without more help, the best they can hope for is an honorable defeat. At this rate, the tower will fall. Wondering what in the whole world they are supposed to do now, but suddenly she can hear people from the radio seeing a really strange guy. She then hears booms coming from them, and she wonders what is going on, so she screams for answers. However, she then hears a familiar voice, as it's none other than Finn, who asks her about the sword. Iris is first super confused, but Finn just aura farms while asking where the sword is right now. We then head back to Mars, who tells them that they are not bad. He is still in the sky, but tells Werkner and Will that he never thought that they would go for a kill in that state. He then grins as he says that, still, it looks like he took a chunk out of him too, and he calls it over. With that, we then see the dragon and Will on the floor. After a while, Will gets up and looks around as he wonders where they are. However, he then hears Werkner's voice, telling him that they are at the western city limits and that they crashed. We then see Werkner being super bloody as he tells Will that all he could do was keep him alive. However, I'm sad to say that this isn't even the worst part, as we then see Werkner with a huge hole in his body. Will looks like he is about to lose it as he calls out to Werkner. Werkner just stands before him with a smile as he apologizes and tells Will that he is their only hope now, telling him that no one else can but him and that Werkner knows for a fact that he can save the city. Will, who looks filled with despair, looks at the ground and tells Werkner that he can't do that. He continues as he explains that Rosti died because of him, and Werkner is also dying, asking how he is supposed to help the people he cares about if he always needs someone else to save him. Will looks extremely sad as he says that he can't change anything, asking how a sword could ever change the world, and how a no-talent like him can't do that. Will then starts to cry, and Werkner still just smiles at him. He then gets down on his knees and starts to hug Will. Werkner then tells him that he should know that he has been lying to him all this time. Will looks confused, but Werkner continues and tells Will that he can use magic, telling him that there's one spell that he can use, one spell that will give them all hope, which firstly is just insane. However, sadly, It then looks like Werkner's eyes go blank. Will notices it as well, and he starts to cry a ton, asking Werkner to wait. He tells him not to die yet, and that he has to tell Will what spell he can use, and this panel is truly so sad. Anyway, after that we see someone coming and telling Will, that's all? He needs a little willpower. It's Finn who explains that a silver light can cut through anything. Will looks back and remembers him as Finn from the dungeon. Finn then has a smile as he tells Will that Werkner will be fine, explaining that he will start breathing again as soon as his pulse picks up. After that, Will safely puts down Werkner's body. Finn then speaks up and says that they should talk about Will. Will is confused, but Finn asks him what he is doing just sitting there, asking Will if he can't see that the stage has been set. He continues as he says that Werkner said something about a silver light and a little willpower. Will asks him what he means, and that he doesn't understand. Finn just smiles at him and tells him that he heard the word spell, and thought it meant being able to control fire or wind or something. He then laughs and tells him that he already knows that it can't be right. Will just gets more confused by the second, but Finn tells him that what Werkner meant was the place where willpower lies. His feelings, you might call it. It's a kind of self-suggestion. You raise your voice in a shout to move yourself to action. It's like a great war cry that can transform lies into truth. Will, however, tells him that it's not real, it's just kid talk, and asks how that's supposed to help him save anyone. Finn then screams at him. He tells Will that it's nonsense, and that nothing could be more important. A man who can't change himself can never hope to change the world. He asks Will if he isn't a sword that wants to become a wand. Saying that it's exactly what Finn is talking about, Finn points his sword right at Will and tells him to remember his roots. Go back to the beginning. He then puts the sword right by Will as he tells him that the lock has already been broken. After that, he once again has a smile as he looks at Will and tells him to take his sword. Finn then starts to clench his fist so much that blood starts to come out of it. Finn then drops the blood onto the sword as he tells Will to let them go on a quest, over the hills of darkness and beyond the false sky. Just then, the sword starts to emanate a bunch of lightning, and Will can't believe it. However, Finn tells him that he already knows the answer. He knows the name of the spell that sleeps inside his heart. Will then thinks back to everything that he has been through, all of his hardships. Finn then just keeps on going as he screams at Will to raise his voice and be reborn. Will then thinks about Elfie, and with that, Will starts to get up. He grabs a hold of the sword as he then screams that the name of his spell is Courage, and this panel is just top-notch, like, this is insane. We then see Will getting almost consumed by lightning as his hair color even starts to change. We then see Finn again, who says, "Limiter off," and we then know that things are about to go down. After that, he once again has that smile on his face as he tells Will to now draw his sword. We then see him do just that as he starts to zoom through the city. A monster that was about to attack some mages, it suddenly disappears into the straight nothingness. Thanks to Will, the mages can't seem to believe it themselves as they say that they were saved. Will then continue to do this throughout the entire city. He even goes right past Edward, who is left in pure awe as he can't grasp what happened. We see the same thing happening to Julius, Lihanna, and Wignall. Not only them though, as we also see Gina, who wonders what in blue blazes is going on, and trust me, I wonder the same thing. We then see Iris, who says that this light is striking down every last monster in its path. However, we then switch scenes as we see Seaosn protecting Colette from Devander. But sadly, nothing is working at all, and because of that, Colette screams at him to run. We then see Seaosn, who is badly hurt, but he then clenches his fist as he screams that he isn't going to run anywhere. He takes up his wand again and thinks that if Will were here, then he would never run. The Devander is heading straight for Seaosn, but he doesn't budge as he continues to think that Will's braver than any of them, and that he would be damned if he let him beat him. However, we then get to Will, who thinks that Seaosn is wrong, thinking that he was always jealous and wanted to be like him. Will spent his whole life trying to catch up to all those wands. He is just a selfish, pathetic loser. We then see Devander going to kill Seaosn right here and now. However, just before he manages to hit him, we see Will appearing right beside him as he thinks that right now he's going to let him be his mage blade, which is just awesome. After that, we also see both Seaosn and Colette being super surprised as they wonder if that is even Will. However, that will all have to come later as Will gets right into action as he zooms to the side and with no hesitation at all gives Devander an insane strike to its left body. And trust me, I mean insane as we see Devander flying through, I don't even know how many buildings. We then hear someone saying that the Devander has reached Central Floss. After that, we see Cauldron, and someone tells her that they must evacuate. Cauldron, however, just closes her eyes and says, "Bubble, bubble, toil and trouble," Caridos Aculum, and it then looks like it creates some sort of water steam behind the Devander. She thinks that it should have finished it, but she wonders how it can still be alive. The other person then speaks up again, and once again tells Cauldron that they seriously have to move now. But Cauldron screams at her to wait, because just then, we see the goat, coming there again, walks up to Devander, who looks to be getting ready, and Will also looks super ready, as he tells him that if it's a fight he wants, then here he is. With that, both of them charge at each other at the same time, and they then collide, which creates a huge blast. We see some mages wondering what that rumbling sound was, and Donan tells them that it's coming from the city center. We then see Julius, Lihana, and Wignall, who all three can't believe that Will actually intends to fight that thing. After that, we see Wignall wasting no time as he starts to run. Julius tells him to stop, but just then, Lihana also starts to run, and Julius then tells her to stop as well. But this forces Julius to also run after them as he screams out that he is also out of magic. We then see Edward, who says Will's name, and he can't believe that it's actually him, thinking that it's him who is making these sounds and taking a stand against this monster. We then head up to the Magia Vanders, where they see this, and Elif right away thinks that it's Will right there. After that, we see Claire, who thankfully survived. She is on a rooftop and thinks that they are evenly matched, even though Devander beat him last time. She then spots Edward and calls out to him. Edward is just super surprised that she is still alive. Claire just tells him not to worry about her, but she asks Edward who that boy is and what happened, and Edward then gets a serious facial expression right away. We then head to a castle where we see some mages. One of them, called Emma, thinks that they need to help him, but one boy stops her and explains that magic doesn't work on that thing, telling Emma that she will only get in the way. Besides that, it's no talent, right? They think back to all those times they laughed at him and put him down, wondering to themselves how they could go and help him now. But we see one of them getting the courage and speaking up. He explains that he is the one who saved their lives, and still he is out there fighting for them. He thinks that maybe he is just saying this to make himself feel better, but even then, he wishes that there was something that they could do. But just as they think that they see someone coming right behind them, it's Sion who goes to the edge and screams out with everything that he can, telling Will to go. It's not just him, however, as we see all five of them cheering Will on, or for the most part, as Julius just tells him to end this already. Anyway, seeing this makes the no-name mages gain courage as they then, together with them, scream that Will can do it and cheer him on. We see Donan, who screams at Will to crush that bastard, and all of them just start to give their hope to Will. We then head to Iris, who thinks that Regarden, the heart of the magical world, is cheering for a no-talent who can't use magic, and that it's something that she can't believe. With that, we get back to the insane action where we see Will go head-to-head with the Devander. While he does so, he thinks that he always felt so pathetic. It hurt so much knowing what he was. He was shunned and mocked. There were even times when he hated the entire world, and yet in a corner of his mind, he always hoped that they would accept him. He continues with his thoughts as he thinks that even if he never hears them cheering him on again, these people, this world, are giving him the courage to fight, and because of that, Will is set on wanting to protect them. After that, he jumps up, and he goes to yet again clash with the Devander. This time they get into a standoff with their swords, and both of them scream out with all that they have. But we then see the unimaginable happen as it's Will's sword that breaks first, and Will can't believe it at all. Meanwhile, the Devander looks super happy, but as that happens, we see Elfie, who gets up from her chair right away. We then see Iris, who thinks that Will's sword wasn't strong enough to endure his power. We then see the gang, who thinks that without his weapons the odds have suddenly turned. And we then see that happening as Devander gets in a massive hit at Will, which sends him away. However, he does manage to catch himself before hitting the wall. After that, we move back to Elfie, who is walking with determined steps. Cariot asks her to stop, saying that the Magia Vander are not to leave this room. However, Elfie puts him in his place right away, as she tells him that she isn't trying to leave, but that she is just going to watch from the window. She then steps out to the edge, and then gets a smirk as she explains that her hand slipped. Now with saying that, we see that Elfie is the goat as she drops a super cool looking sword straight down, right down. It's going at a rapid pace. However, it's heading straight at Will, and Will puts his broken sword up against it. After that, we see the sword going straight down, and as it hits the ground, it creates a massive explosion, and the entire stage gets filled with smoke. However, after it has cleared, we then see Will looking cooler than ever, as he says, fully charged, and that it's the Albiswiss weapon, which is just pure cinema.